Chapter 6, Text 9. Suhrin mitrari udasina madhyastha dvesha bandhushu sadhushvapicha papeshu samabuddhir vishishyate. Suhrit, well-wishers by nature. Mitra, benefactors with affection. Ari, enemies. Udasina, neutrals between belligerents. Madhyastha, mediators between belligerents. Dvesha, the envious. Bandhushu, and the relatives or well-wishers. Sadhushu, unto the pious. Api, as well as Cha and Papeshu, unto the sinners. Samabuddhi, having equal intelligence. Vishishyate is far advanced. Translation: a person is considered still further advanced when he regards honest well-wishers, affectionate benefactors, and then the neutral mediators, and the envious friends, enemies, the pious, and the sinners, all with an equal mind. Text 10. Yogi yunjita satatam atmanam rahasi sthita ekakyet chittatma nirashira parigraha. Yogi, a transcendentalist, yunjita must concentrate in Krishna consciousness. Satatam, constantly. Atmanam, himself, by body, mind and self. Rahasi, in a secluded place. Rahasi sthita, being situated. Ekaki, alone. Yata chittatma, always careful in mind. Nirashi, without being attracted by anything else. Aparigraha, free from feeling of possessiveness. Translation: transcendentalist should always engage his body, mind and self in relationship with the Supreme. He should live alone in a secluded place and should always carefully control his mind. He should be free from desires and feelings of possessiveness. Krishna is realized in different degrees as Brahman, Paramatma and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna consciousness means concisely to be always engaged in transcendental loving service of the Lord. But those who are attached to the impersonal Brahman or the localized super soul are also partially Krishna conscious, because the impersonal Brahman is the spiritual ray of Krishna and the super soul is the all-pervading partial expansion of Krishna. Thus the impersonalist and the mediator are also indirectly Krishna conscious. A directly Krishna conscious person is the topmost transcendentalist, because such a devotee knows what is meant by Brahman and Paramatma. His knowledge of the absolute truth is perfect, whereas the impersonalist and the meditative yogi are imperfectly Krishna conscious. Nevertheless, all of these are instructed here to be constantly engaged in their particular pursuits, so that they may come to the highest perfection sooner or later. The first business of a transcendentalist is to keep the mind always on Krishna. One should always think of Krishna and not forget him, even for a moment. Concentration of the mind on the Supreme is called samadhi or trance. In order to concentrate the mind, one should always remain in seclusion and avoid disturbance by external objects. He should be careful to accept the favorable and reject unfavorable conditions that affect his realization. And in perfect determination, he should not hanker after unnecessary material things that entangle him by feelings of possessiveness. All these perfections and precautions are perfectly executed when one is directly in Krishna consciousness, because direct Krishna consciousness means self-abnegation, wherein there is very little chance for material possessiveness. Sri Rupa Goswami characterizes Krishna consciousness in this way: Anasakta Vishayan Yatarham Upayunjata Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe Yuktam Vairagyam Uchyate Prapanchikateya Buddhya Hari Sambandhe Vastuna Mumuksha Viparityago Falgo Vairagyam Falgo Katyate. When one is not attached to anything but at the same time accepts everything in relation to Krishna, one is rightly situated above possessiveness. On the other hand, one who rejects everything without knowledge of his relation to Krishna is not as complete in his renunciation. Bhakti Rasamrita 2:1-255 to 256. A Krishna conscious person well knows that everything belongs to Krishna, and thus he is always free from feelings of personal possession. As such, he has no hankering for anything on his own personal account. He knows how to accept things in favor of Krishna consciousness and how to reject things unfavorable to Krishna consciousness. He is always aloof from material things, because he is always transcendental and he is always alone, having nothing to do with persons not in Krishna consciousness. Therefore, a person in Krishna consciousness is a perfect yogi. Text 11-12. Shucho deshe pratisthapya stiram asanam atmana nati ushritam nati nicham shailajina kushottaram tatre kagram manakritva yata chittendriya kriya upavishyasane yunjyat yogam atma vishuddhaye. Suchau, in a sanctified Desha land, Pratisthapya, placing Stiram, firm, Asanam, seat Atmana, his own, na not, Ati, too Uchritam, high, na nor, Ati, too Nicham, low, Chailajana of soft cloth and deer skin, Kusha and Kusha grass, Uttaram, covering Tatra thereupon, Ekagram, with one attention, Mana, mind, Kritva, making, Yata Chitta, controlling the mind, Indriya, senses, Kriya and activities, Upavishya, sitting, Asane, on the seat, Uyunja, should execute, Yogam, yoga practice, Atma, the heart, Vishuddhaye, for clarifying. To practice yoga, one should go to a secluded place and should lay kusha grass on the ground and then cover it with a deer skin and a soft cloth. The seat should neither be too high nor too low and should be situated in a sacred place. The yogi should then sit on it very firmly and practice yoga to purify the heart by controlling his mind, senses and activities and fixing the mind on one point. Sacred place refers to places of pilgrimage. In India, the yogis, transcendentalists or the devotees all leave home and reside in sacred places such as Prayag, Mathura, Vrindavan, Hrishikesh, Hardwar, and in solitude practice yoga where the sacred rivers like Yamuna and the Ganges flow, but often this is not possible especially for Westerners. The so-called yoga societies in big societies may be successful in earning material benefit, but they are not at all suitable for the actual practice of yoga. One who is not self-controlled and whose mind is not undisturbed cannot practice meditation. Therefore, in the Brahmanaradhya Purana it is said that in Kali Yuga, present Yuga or age, when people in general are short-lived, slow in spiritual realization, and always disturbed by material anxieties, disturbed by various anxieties, the best means of spiritual realization is chanting the holy name of the Lord. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama eva kevalam, kalau nasteva gatiranyata. In this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, the only means of deliverance is chanting the holy name of the Lord. There is no other way, there is no other way, there is no other way. Text 13 to 14. Samam kaya shiro grivam dharayan vachalam stira samprekshanasikagram swam dishas chanavalokayan prashantatma bigatabir brahmachari vrate stita manas samyamya chitta yukta asita matpara. Samam, straight, kaya, body, shira, head, grivam and neck, dharayan, holding, achalam, unmoving, stira, still, sampreksha, looking, nasika, of the nose, agram, at the tip, swam, own, disha, on all sides, cha, also, anavalokayan, none not looking, prashanta, unagitated, atma, mind, vigata, be, devoid of fear, brahmachari, vrate, in the vow of syllabus, stita, situated, mana, mind, samyamya, completely subduing, mat, upon me, Krishna, chitta, concentrating the mind, yukta, the actual yogi, asita, should sit, mat, me, para, the goal, ultimate goal. Translation. One should hold one's body, neck and head erect in a straight line and stare steadily at the tip of the nose. Thus, with an unagitated, subdued mind, devoid of fear, completely free from sex life, one should meditate upon me within the heart and make me the ultimate goal of life. Purport: the goal of life is to know Krishna, who is situated within the heart of every living being as Paramatma, the four-headed in Vishnu form. The yoga process is practiced in order to discover and see this localized form of Vishnu and not for any other purpose. The localized Vishnu Murti is plenary representation of Krishna dwelling within one's heart. One who has no program to realize this Vishnu Murti is uselessly engaged in mock yoga practice and is certainly wasting his time. Krishna is the ultimate goal of life and the Vishnu Murti situated in one's heart is the object of yoga practice. To realize this Vishnu Murti within the heart, one has to observe complete abstinence from sex life. Therefore, one has to leave home and live alone in a secluded place, remaining seated as mentioned above. One cannot enjoy sex life daily at home or elsewhere and attend the so-called yoga class in this become a yogi. One has to practice controlling the mind and avoiding all kinds of sense gratification of which sex life is achieved. In the rules of celibacy written by a great sage Yajnavalkya, it is said, Karmana manasa vacha sarva vasto sarvada sarvatra maituna thyago brahmacharyam prachakshate. The word brahmacharya is meant to help one completely abstain from sex indulgence in work, words and mind at all times, under all circumstances, in all places. No one can perform correct yoga practice through sex indulgence. Brahmacharya is taught therefore from childhood when one has no knowledge of sex life. Children at the age of 5 are sent to the Gurukul or the place of the spiritual master, and the master trains the young boys in the strict discipline of becoming brahmacharis. Without such practice, no one can make advancement in yoga, whether it be dhyana, jnana, or bhakti. One who, however, follows the rules and regulations of married life, having a sexual relationship only with his wife, and that also under regulation, is also called a brahmachari. Such a restrained householder brahmachari may be accepted in the bhakti school, but the jnana and dhyana schools do not even admit householder brahmacharis. They require complete abstinence without compromise. In the bhakti school, a householder brahmachari is allowed controlled sex life because the cult of yoga, bhakti yoga, is so powerful that one automatically loses sexual attraction, being engaged in the superior service of the Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said, Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehina rasa varjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. Whereas others are forced to restrain themselves from sense gratification, a devotee of the Lord automatically refrains because of superior taste. Other than the devotee, no one has any information of that superior taste. Vigati B, one cannot be fearless unless one is fully in Krishna consciousness. A conditioned soul is fearful due to his perverted memories, forgetfulness of his eternal relationship with Krishna. The Bhagavatam 11.237 says, Bhayam dutva vinevishatas sasyad ishad apetasya viparyayo smritihi. Krishna consciousness is the only basis for fearlessness. Therefore, the perfect practice is possible for a person who is Krishna conscious, and the since ultimate goal of yoga practice is to see Lord within. A Krishna conscious person is already the best of all yogis. The principles of the yoga system mentioned herein are different from those of the so-called yoga societies. Text 15. Yunjan evam sadatmanam yogi niyatamanasa shantim nirvana paramam matstam stam adhigacchati. Yunjan, practicing evam as mentioned above. Sada, constantly, atmanam, body, mind and soul. Yogi, the mystic, transcendentalist. Niyatamanasa, with a regulated mind. Shantim, peace. Nirvana paramam, cessation of material existence. Matstam, the spiritual sky, and the kingdom of God. Adhigacchati, does attain. Translation: thus practicing constant control of the body, mind and activities, the mystic yogi transcendentalist is mind regulated, maintains translation is mind regulated, attains to the kingdom of God or the abode of Krishna by cessation of material existence. The ultimate goal in practicing yoga is now clearly explained. Yoga practice is not meant for attaining any kind of material facility. It is to enable the cessation of all material existence. One who seeks an improvement in health or aspires after material perfection is no yogi according to Bhagavad Gita. Nor does cessation of material existence entail one's entering into the void, which is only a myth. There is no void anywhere within the creation of the Lord. Rather, the cessation of material existence enables one to enter into the spiritual sky, the abode of the Lord. The abode of the Lord is also clearly described in the Bhagavad Gita as that place where there is no need of sun, moon or electricity. All the planets in the spiritual kingdom are self-illuminated like the sun in the material sky. The kingdom of God is everywhere, but the spiritual sky and the planets thereof are called Paramdhama or superior abodes. A consummate yogi who is perfect in understanding Lord Krishna as is clearly stated herein by the Lord. Herein by the Lord himself, Matchitta Matpara Mastanam, can attain real peace and ultimately reach his supreme abode. Krishna Loka, known as Golok Vrindavan, in the Brahma Samhita 537, it is clearly stated, Golok eva nivasati akilat bhuta. The Lord, although residing always in his abode, Goloka eva nivasati akilat bhuta. The Lord, although residing always in his abode, Goloka, is the all-pervading Brahman and the localized Paramatma. As well as by the dint of his superior spiritual energies. No one can reach the spiritual sky, Vaikuntha, or enter into... No one can reach the spiritual sky, Vaikuntha, or enter into the Lord's eternal abode, Golok Vrindavan, without the proper understanding of Krishna and his plenary expansion, Vishnu. Therefore, a person working in Krishna consciousness is a perfect yogi because his mind is always absorbed in Krishna's activities. Savai Mana Krishna Padaravindayo. In the Vedas, although Shvetashva Krishna 3.8, we learn Tam Eva Viditvati Mrityumeti. One can overcome the path of birth and death only by understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. In other words, perfection of yoga system is the attainment of freedom from material existence and not some magical jugglery or gymnastic feats to befool innocent people. Text 16. Natyashnutastu yogosti nachaikantam anashnata nachati swapnashilasya jagrato naiva charjuna. Na never iti too much ashnata of one who eats too, but yoga linking with the Supreme. Asti there is na nor cha also ekantam overly. Anashnata abstaining from eating na nor cha also ati too much. Swapnashilasya one who sleeps jagrata or one who keeps night watch too much. Na not eva or ever cha and Arjuna, O Arjuna. There is no possibility of becoming a yogi or Arjuna if one eats too much or eats too little, sleeps too much or does not sleep enough. Purport. Regulation of diet and sleep is recommended herein for the yogis. Too much eating means eating more than is required to keep the body and soul together. There is no need for men to eat animals because there is an ample supply of grains, vegetables, fruits and milk. Such simple foodstuff is to be considered to be in the mode of goodness according to the Bhagavad Gita. Animal food for those in the mode of ignorance. Animal food is for those in the mode of ignorance. Therefore, those who indulge in animal food, drinking, smoking, and eating food which is not first offered to Krishna will suffer sinful reactions because of eating only polluted things. Bunjate agam pape ye pachanti atma karanat. Anyone who eats for sense pleasure or cooks for himself, not offering his food to Krishna, eats only sin. One who eats sin and eats more than is allotted to him cannot execute perfect yoga. It is best that one eat only the remnants of foodstuff offered to Krishna. A person in Krishna consciousness does not eat anything which is not first offered to Krishna. Therefore, only the Krishna conscious person can attain perfection in yoga practice, nor can one who artificially abstains from eating, manufacturing his own personal process of fasting, practice yoga. The Krishna conscious person observes fasting as it is recommended in the scriptures. He does not fast or eat more than is required and is thus competent to perform yoga practice. One who eats more than required will dream very much while sleeping, and he must consequently sleep more than is required. One should not sleep more than 6 hours daily. One who sleeps more than 6 hours out of 24 is certainly influenced by the mode of ignorance. A person in the mode of ignorance is lazy and prone to sleep a great deal. Such a person cannot perform yoga.